Welcome to Public Safety Talk Radio, the podcast for all our heroes in public safety, including law enforcement professionals, firefighters, EMTs, corrections officers, healthcare workers, and more. This show is produced by the POCUA and is founded upon its Soundness initiative. This episode is also sponsored by the POCUA, a consortium of financial institutions serving law enforcement as well as other first responders and public safety professionals. Always remember, if you aren't banking with a POCUA credit union, you're just working with an institution that just so happens to serve public safety professionals. And you deserve better. Hi, I'm Ken Bader, your host for Public Safety Talk Radio, and here we are at episode 10. And frankly, I wish that I could be a lot more upbeat on episode 10. I have run a number of podcasts, produced a number of podcasts and shows, and usually around episode 10, I want to take a look back at where we've been with the first few shows, because 10 is a real milestone. Some shows don't even make it past 10 or 12 or so forth, and here we already have a body of work with Public Safety Talk Radio. But here we are at the end of August in a real issue with our friends in law enforcement. And what I want to express, not only as the host and producer of Public Safety Talk Radio, but also the CEO of the Police Officers Credit Union Association, the institution, or I should say, the organization that produces this particular show, is I see a lot of defund the police. I see defend the police. And the phrase that I am using more and more lately is, can't we develop the police? As I've said a number of times, I believe on this show and other forums, I am a staunch supporter of law enforcement. As you can see, I'm wearing a shirt with the thin blue line. I am definitely pro-police, but I'm also pro-change and pro-peace. And I clearly feel that there needs to be a change here. I'm not going to talk about any of the incidents in particular. I've had many discussions about the George Floyd case, the Breonna Taylor case, now the Jacob Blake case, with a number of my law enforcement colleagues. I've never been in law enforcement, but I've had the pleasure of working with law enforcement for a number of years, so I'm proud to call them colleagues. And we need some change here. I don't know if postponing or boycotting a basketball game, as the NBA is doing, is going to create real change. As I believe one football coach mentioned, we need to go beyond protest and do something for real change. And I don't know exactly what that is, but I do know that defunding the police is not the answer. I also believe that defending the police blindly is not the answer. I want a world where law enforcement can go home to their families safely, and all African Americans can go home to their families safely. I don't know if I have the answer as to how to get there, but I am definitely willing to listen and want to be part of the solution. I don't believe that the solution is burning small businesses. I don't believe the solution is shooting protesters, as we've seen recently in Kenosha. And I also don't believe that the solution is just simply staying with the status quo. I don't believe it's just about bad cops. I think that, as many have said, I think most of the police officers out there are very, very good people, are good family men and women. I truly believe that. But we obviously have a system that isn't working in our society. So much as I talk in business with a number of my business clients, especially when there's a merger, and I do fully understand that this is not a merger situation, that this is much, much more important and goes much deeper than just a business merger transaction or process. But using it as an analogy, I often tell businesses that are merging that you can't look at it as being like two puzzles where you just take this piece that works and take that piece that you like and try to meld them together. That process is like taking it's like taking two puzzles, one of Superman and one of a forest, and saying, hey, I really like this tree over here. I'm going to take these pieces. And you know what? I really like the Fortress of Solitude. So I'm going to take this piece from the Superman puzzle and I'm just going to force them together. All that does is create a puzzle that looks terrible. And the same thing with the merger. It just doesn't work. You have cracks in your processes. You have cracks in your culture. And we definitely have cracks in our culture in the country. So somewhere along the line, we need to get away from defund the police. We need to get away from blindly defending the police. And we have to find a way to develop the police. How do we create a program from scratch? Going back to my merger analogy, I often tell businesses to look at not their two businesses as puzzles, but to look at them as blocks of ice that need to be melted down and need to be molded back up into a new ice sculpture. And I think that's what we need to do here. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I don't have all the answers. All I know is I want police officers to be safe. I want them to stop being vilified. And I want African American communities to feel safe and to feel that they don't have to protest and feel that they're as equal as anybody else. I don't have the answer as to how to get there tomorrow, but I do believe, much like my merger analogy with the two ice sculptures, I think we need to take this down to the very base. I think we need to get leaders, frankly, leaders that probably hate each other right now. Leaders in law enforcement, leaders in the Black community, leaders in other areas, maybe business, maybe politics, who knows? Although I believe that our answer will not come from politicians. I think if we look to politicians for answers, we're either not going to get an answer or we're going to be very disappointed. I think we need to have leaders in many different areas come together, even those that may hate each other right now, to build this thing back up from scratch. I don't know exactly what that looks like. Maybe, as I mentioned to one colleague, that looks like some type of a law enforcement program that starts in the communities with teaching first graders, second graders of how to grow into the role of being a community police officer in their community when they get to 18, 20, 21. Rather than sending people to the Boy Scouts or just simply the Boys and Girls Club, maybe we can teach them a skill to be that community police officer in their community. Maybe that's the answer. I heard not too long ago in a forum a African American police officer who was retired that was asked, well, how do we deal with this problem? And his simple answer was bring back officer friendly. And his point was is that everybody knew when he was on the police force that he was a policeman, and everybody in the community knew him and knew that they could come to him with problems. I think somehow, some way, we need to get back to that. But what I pray for is peace for everybody. I want to get to a point where police officers, again, can be proud of their role in society as they should be. I want them to be able to go home safely to their families at night. And I also want them to have a lesser divorce rate, lesser addiction rate, lesser alcohol and domestic violence rate. Change needs to happen. And I know from working with law enforcement that change isn't always a positive thing for our law enforcement officials. But you know what? Change is needed. So find a way to embrace change and be a part of that solution. And on the Black Lives Matter side, look for ways to peacefully come together with law enforcement to create those solutions. Protesting, burning small businesses in the community, stopping people on a highway from getting home safely because it's blocked. Um, yeah, that's not the answer either. I don't have all the answers. All I know is that this activity, what's happening in Kenosha, what happened in Minneapolis, what's happening in cities around the country, is not good for our country, not good for society, not good for law enforcement, not good for our African American communities. So let's find a way. I'm going to end this little conversation or diatribe on defund, defend is probably not right. Let's find a way to develop something. People support what they help create. So let's get together and create something. Let's try to put aside these emotions. I know on both sides we have a right to feel the way that we feel. We have a right to be upset, whether it's Blue Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter. We have a right to feel the way that we're going to feel. But let's find a way to get past that emotion to create something together for our children, for the next generations out there. I'll close too with a bit of a personal story. I too have come in contact with bad cops. I came in contact with bad cops in Illinois when I lived there. I came in contact with a bad cop, at least one, here in Long Beach, California, where I live. It does not make me hate cops. Granted, I've never been shot by a police officer. That's true. But I have encountered bad cops. It does not make me hate police officers. I love police officers and what they stand for and what they do. As another note, my uncle was African American. He killed my aunt. He literally hit her in the head with a baseball bat 37 times in front of one of his daughters. Changed a lot of lives. Just because he was black, I don't hate all African American people. I love all people. That's what my religion has taught me to do. And from that standpoint, if I don't hate police officers, if I don't hate African Americans, if something bad has happened to you, maybe we can get rid of the hate. We can get past the emotion on both sides and find a way to bring a solution to our society. If you want to talk, I'm willing to listen. As an entrepreneur, I'm actively trying to think of solutions to this complex problem. The only thing that I can think of is we need to recreate this from scratch. And I think that we can do that. I think that that's what makes our society great, because we have created tons of amazing things in the United States. We can get through this. And it's just a matter of finding a way to put aside the hate, put aside the emotion that we rightfully should have, and find a way to not defund, to not blindly defend, but to develop something for all of us. So, thank you for helping us to get to episode 10 of Public Safety Talk Radio. And we'll be back again in about a week with a great guest, Nancy Ann Horvath. I know you're going to like her. Apologize, Nancy Ann, for preempting your episode. But I felt that we needed to talk about what we need to do in this country and begin some healing as to how we can bring law enforcement back up and keep all Black lives safe in their communities as well. So thank you for spending a little bit of time with me. God bless all of you. God bless all the police officers, all our first responders, all of our African Americans, all of our Americans. And let's find a way to get past this. Public Safety Talk Radio is produced by the POCUA. POCUA is a consortium of financial institutions serving law enforcement as well as other first responders and public safety professionals. To learn more about our association and to find one of our credit unions or service providers near you, go to www.policecreditunions.com. And always remember, if you aren't working with one of our POCUA credit unions, you're just banking with an institution that just so happens to serve first responders. As a public safety professional, you and your family deserve better. Find a POCUA credit union today.